Canada has the largest undefended border in the world, and the lack of resources for the CBSA to perform their role to the fullest extent is seen in the rise in crime in cities such as Montreal and Toronto and across the country, where illegal firearms are being smuggled through our porous border and used every day in horrific crimes. Even in rural areas, including in my riding, in towns such as Bonaccord, crime is on the rise after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government's soft on crime policies. And unfortunately, it seems that this government is more focused on targeting law-abiding Canadian firearm owners and hunters rather than fulfilling promises to implement a policy and provide resources for our border where illegal activities such as auto theft and gun smuggling is rampant, to the point where our fastest growing export in this country is stolen vehicles. Now, Public Safety Committee, we heard the Liberals continually attempt to distract from their miserable record on crime. And amidst this ongoing auto theft crisis that's impacting communities across the country, desperate Liberals have resorted to blaming car dealerships, small businesses, for the rise in car thefts. It's clear they don't want to talk about the facts, and the fact is that auto theft has risen to unprecedented levels as a direct result of this Liberal soft on crime agenda. Now, Mr. Speaker, we can all agree that this bill is important to maintain public trust in the RCMP and the CBSA. However, we can't have productive debates unless we discuss the tremendous strain that is currently being placed on our brave men and women. Our law enforcement agencies, much like the Canadian Armed Forces, is suffering from significant recruitment and retention issues. And I would ask the government, what exactly are they doing to ensure that these brave men and women feel valued and supported in their role? And of course, the public should have a right of an independent and effective complaints commission to hold the RCMP and CBSA accountable for their actions. But when we're not providing the resources to frontline police officers and CBSA and other first responders to do their job effectively, it's no surprise that we're seeing mistakes. Our law enforcement personnel are under tremendous pressure as they deal with the impacts of the crime wave that's occurring across this country. And when mistakes happen in the line of duty, it's frequently because these exemplary men and women are being pushed to their limit, overwhelmed by the crisis this government has created. And in fact, the National Police Federation put forward very common sense amendments that they wanted to see in this motion. They're concerned because RCMP officers are often being pulled off the front lines to do bureaucratic paperwork and deal with complaints when it should really be dealt with by an independent commission. Unfortunately, this bill has some flaws because it still maintains a requirement for extensive bureaucratic red tape for RCMP officers in providing information and supporting these investigations, which is pulling our resources off the front. We want to see an independent commission that does its job. We want to see an independent commission that is resourced and staffed so that RCMP officers can focus on the front lines, so that CBSA officers can focus on the front lines and not the back lines. Now, let's talk about drug use. Our law enforcement officers are expected to act as social workers. They're confronting daily crime and disorder that this government's drug policies have inflicted on our communities. And we know that this is causing a mental health crisis within the ranks. And violent crime. We have heard at Public Safety Committee that the chiefs are fearful for the safety of their officers, especially since violent offenders are able to continuously terrify communities as a result of the bail, not jail provisions of Liberal Bill C-75. And it should come as no surprise that the government doesn't want to have conversations like this. Their record on crime is miserable. And since this government came to power in 2015, Canada has become a massive importer of illegal firearms from the United States and a massive exporter of stolen cars to Africa and the Middle East, and also an exporter of fentanyl across the world. It's shameful. Now, while implementing this soft on crime agenda, this government has taken very little action to ensure that the brave men and women who choose to serve their communities and their country feel supported and respected in their work.